Okay, let's call the question up. No more questions, right? Call the question on the stoop. All those in favor of the application?
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Abstentions? Any opposed? Abstentions?
Thank you.
He'll be at the meeting.
Okay, that was my joke. I'm confident we still get to see you in presentation.
I will be well preserved. Thank you.
Hi there. Thanks so much, Mark and the whole slate of new officers. Congratulations. Very excited for everyone. So right now we're actually going to go over the Central Park. So number 13 on your voting sheet, we're going to go over first just because it's a longer presentation. So please, if you can just pay attention to that line item. So on September 16th, we heard from the Central Park Conservancy on a plan that they've had in motion for quite some time. Really exciting project of re-envisioning the Harlem Mirror, which is located in the northern section of Central Park. I believe in the meeting minutes and in this resolution, we have in here 104th to 110th, but I would say it's more fair to say 100th to 110th Street. Oh, awesome, thank you. Oh my gosh. Yes, okay. I don't want to hit you on the eyeball. But what I would say, this is kind of multi-part, but we're going to go slide by slide. So the Central Park Conservancy has been doing a lot of restoration in this area for the past 30 years. The existing facility, as you can see, consists of this section right here, which is the rink and a swimming pool during the summer months. Even though this facility has 2 uses, it's really only open and available for programming 6 months out of the year. The facility was designed in 1966, and at that time of development and creation, it was actually a failing system to begin with, just because of the way it was situated on the site and that the way that the hydrology of the site and the landscape was altered at that time, and we're going to go through the slides. But what you should know about this facility is that it's basically failing. I was presented to talk to Lane, who is managing this process, and she was saying that 50,000 gallons of water are leaking during the summer months per hour out of this swimming pool. When it's an ice skating rink, it uses, I believe it's refrigerant number 22, which is actually going to be either discontinued or basically making this obsolete, so that we need to figure out a new way to keep the ice cool and this thing up and running. If you can move on to the next slide, Christian, that would be great. The goal of the project is really to keep as much recreational programming on as possible without interruption. The project is being fully funded by the Central Park Conservancy for approximately $150 million. Construction is slated to begin 2021 and completed in 2024. You'll see here a map with the existing facility right up here in the northeast corner, just on the page. This image shows the footprint of the facility as it was built on the spot where a naturalistic water course emptied into the Mere after flowing in from the west side of the park at 100th Street. This facility is basically oversized for the space, and as I said before, it just disrupted the water course, which was diverted into a tunnel underneath the pool, and it's getting backed up with significant rain events and weather. So this is just to give you some idea, this water course coming up from 100th is going right under this facility, and so that's how it's channeling through. Jerry, if you don't mind going through the next slide. This is an image of from the north side of the facility, and as you can see, this is a massive facility up here, and basically it's breaking up the circulation between the southern portion of the park up through the Mere, and it's again only open during the summer months for swimming and winter months for skating, and it sits unused nearly half the year because the building and the amenities are shut down. The next slide. So this facility was severed from its historically connected landscape from below, and I think we talked about the ravine and it being kind of shoved underneath the facility instead of going around. So using the handy dandy pointer, what this new project would allow for is for it to naturally flow back into the Mere. And we're going to see that in a little bit. So the next slide shows the re-envisioned facility. So this is a new facility that they're proposing from bird's eye view. As you can see, that it's elongating the pool, and it opens up the site a bit more for that natural water flow to happen, and going back into the original fabric of the park. And the pool being enveloped kind of by this landscape berm, and the building incorporated into the park's landscape. The images they showed during our meeting were really interesting. They were trying to fuse nature and architecture by lowering the level of the structure to match the topography. So as you can see, like Bethesda Terrace is embedded kind of in that natural landscape. That this is what they were trying to accomplish here in this design. The new pool will be smaller. That's something that we heard is concern from the community, that we're going to lose some square footage on that, but it's still larger than an Olympic-sized pool and will be one of the largest in the city. The existing pool, we heard from them, rarely reaches capacity, and the vast majority of the time it operates well below capacity. They will be hiring on a lap consultant, a pool consultant, to figure out the correct configuration of lap lanes. And if you can go to the next slide, Jerry, that'd be great. So this kind of gives you a flow of what this new facility will look like. So as we talked about before, this water path will be reopened up. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, this is the existing. My apologies. Oh my gosh, my eyesight's a little bad. But the existing facility disrupts the circulation. So as you can see, the water is not flowing alongside the facility. It's flowing underneath. And it's really inhospitable to kind of get down to this space right now because there's so many stairs. The new design will allow for more ramps that are protected with fencing. The next slide. So this is the new design, and as you can see, that ravine is flowing freely down through the Mere. There's also this set of islands, which they are calling the freshwater marsh, which will have a walkway that's developed so people can actually interact with the water as they did back like in the 40s and 50s. People were actually using the lake to swim in, but this will allow them more accessibility onto the actual water on a protected rampway. The design will create a continuous park experience, and it will reconnect the stream course and path system along the water's edge. And it will also add this curvilinear boardwalk and pergola, which will facilitate, like I said, some enjoyment of the actual Mere on the water. And I'll say at this point in time, there is major concern because I know that from the West Side neighborhood naturalists, we've heard that trees, 25 crabapple trees and white pines and many other trees will be taken down during this process. It's kind of inevitable at this point in time. However, they have said that they will increase landscaping by over 51%, and that's their goal, is to really focus on how to integrate more native plant species into this area and make it so it's not as disrupted. The next slide, Jerry. So this is a section of the new facility looking north, and it shows the pool with this recreated water course on the left-hand side here, and a park path on the left. And the building will be incorporated into the slope on the right with this green roof kind of overlook on top. The materials that they presented and that they're exploring now will be made out of stone and wood and will harmonize as closely as possible with the landscape. The floor to so this structure on the right-hand side will be, let's see, floor to ceiling glass doors, which they have said they're looking into bird-safe glass. And these doors will actually pivot open, so allowing more air, like natural airflow, and kind of converting that main gathering space into more of an indoor-outdoor experience. The next slide, Jerry. I know, I have like 3 more minutes. So the same view in the winter months kind of shows the ice rink and how it will be utilized seasonally. Right now there's 2 sets of ice, and there's been some concern that taking away one of those, one of the sides of the rink will make it so there's not enough space for active skaters to skate without being part of a league. The parks, Central Park Conservancy is adamant that that's not going to be the case. And we can move on to the next slide. So this is just another cross section, and then moving just along, Jerry, this is some of the same. Yeah, so this is essentially the project. We were excited about it. It passed unanimously on our committee. We did recognize that they're so early on in this process of design, and that they will, be coming back to us most likely with new elements, new design challenges. But right now, I think we can call the question. Yes.
Did they tell you in the phasing of this project how much would be available to the public as they're building the new swimming facility and the mere, and how much would be off limits to the public?
Yeah, so as far as I know, this project, this facility will completely shut down due to the nature of the improvements that need to be made, because they basically need to rip out this entire rink.
For how long?
So it's 3 years, 2021 to 2024. Well, oh, Amy?
Are they making accommodations for programs like ice hockey in Harlem, where
So-
this is their sole space for their ice hockey during Olympics?
Yeah, they're actually working on expanding programming. So what I failed to mention is that they are actually thinking about year-round use for different types of soccer leagues, field hockey, etc.
Renovation where ice hockey in Harlem exists because Lasker and the park has always given them space. Where are those kids going, and how are they going to get to the next ice rink, which is not in Harlem?
Sure. What I know, I don't know about the ice hockey, but what they did describe during our meeting about the swimming is that they residents will be redirected towards other pools that exist. And oh, Wayne, you're here. Yeah, yeah. If you'd like to clarify that.
So we've actually been working with ice hockey in Harlem for since we announced the fact that this project happening over a year ago, and working with them first of all in terms of just when the new pool and rink is constructed. We're very focused on this being a community-focused facility, and so we want to make sure that the ice hockey in Harlem that it really serves them. We're also working with them to kind of help them, and working with the parks department figure out where they will go in the 3 years. And I know 3 years sounds like a long time. It's a massive project. It really is. It's not just kind of building a pool and rink. It's complete site redevelopment and landscape kind of.
Anyone else have a question? I know I'm like just aware of time. Oh, Clary.
It's not a question, it's a comment or a couple of comments. this is a wonderful project, and the conclusion of the resolution that it should be, that the preliminary design should be approved is the correct conclusion. We had a long and detailed discussion at the committee meeting about it. But, the resolution, which I guess was drafted by Jennifer, doesn't, really, do what our committee's resolutions should do on a project such as this, and I'll just comment, most of it is harmless, but what is here, but there are two important things that I'll comment on. One is that this is the preliminary design. It's, well developed for a preliminary design, but we had a very substantial discussion about the fine-tuning of a great deal of detailing. For instance, the locker rooms, the gender issues with the locker rooms going forward, as just an example. About the programming, I mean, not just the programming, but the physical construction relating to the programming, such as how it would be, how lap lanes would be constructed and planned, and many other things. One of we had, I think some of us got an email this evening from Wynn Armstrong, who I think is not here tonight, but is a community member who spoke about not retaining the existing bleachers, but creating some equivalent that is not yet detailed, so that you'd have the same function that's not yet detailed. And a point I made to Lane afterwards is water fountains. So we're not talking about buying bottled water at this, which their designer mentioned. So there's a whole lot to be done in the continued planning, and what the resolution should mention, and typically would mention as a resolution from this committee, is in some way is that we look forward to the presentation and continued participation with regard to the evolving and ultimately final design. That's number one. It's easy to say, it's just not here. The other thing is, and it's hinted at here but not said clearly enough, I think, is that this is one of those examples of a project in Central Park which is a scenic landmark and which is subject to landmark LPC process, but then ultimately PDC approval because it's a city project. And this is one of those projects that appropriately the landmarks issues, the preservation issues, are addressed by the Parks and Environment Committee and were addressed at this meeting because it is a project that is, the landmarks issues, preservation is very important, but they're only part of a far greater discussion about this project. So, although the resolution kind of hints at the LPC aspect, it should, I think, do so, and this can all be edited later to fix this. Doesn't have to be.
Yeah, Chloe, I definitely am taking notes, and I can definitely amend that, and I appreciate your input. I know that there were so many other elements that we talked about that night.
That at least with the preliminary design, we find it appropriate because that's what they need to carry to PDC and LPC.
So, it sounds like a friendly amendment. Can we vote with that being a friendly amendment?
That sounds good.
That's
Accept it as friendly, you don't vote on it. I think take one more comment from Jeanette.
Oh,
No,
Jeanette.
you said vote on it with. Yes, I did.
Jeanette has a
I thought
comment.
so. It's her last chance to prove me wrong.
Jeanette?
I'm sorry, just two quick questions. One is, everything that's happening, you're not changing the alignment of the roadway at all? It's within the existing?
No, they are changing the pathways.
But not the roadway.
Not the roadway, but the pathways getting down into the
And
pool
the other
area.
question is, you said it's a preliminary design, and you think they're coming back, and maybe this hits on Carrie's position, but I would just like to know, we're saying that, we're saying we agree for them to remove substantial surrounding trees and stuff in the preliminary design. Don't we want to see, I mean, are these large caliber trees? I mean, it just seems if we're giving all this, why are we giving approval for the preliminary design with no say on whether we?
Assuming that they are going to come back and present.
Sounds like trees.
But Chloe, thank you so much for your inputs, because I will include,
Sure.
and just being mindful of time.
You can probably consider both of those friendly amendments.
Can I call this to question? Is this?
Yes.
Yes, I think.
Incorporating Clary's comments.
Right.
All those in favor?
Well, can't one speak?
Yeah, Ken had something to say. Ken, what were
7,
you?
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Opposed? Opposed? Abstaining?
Okay, 3501.
All right, so the second resolution, going back to number 12. This is on the Monumental Women proposal for a new Central Park statue honoring women in the park. This project has been in the works for quite some time. Monumental Women is a nonprofit organization under the Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony Statue Fund. This is something that's highly supported by Gail Brewer's office, as you heard earlier, and I'm going to go through just very quickly where this is in the process. On September 16th, Monumental Women approached, or I was called to the Public Design Commission to share the latest design. This has gone through multiple revisions over a very long period of time. The artist is Meredith Bergman, who also designed the Boston Women's Monument. She won a call for artists in a blind competition. This originally started as a suffrage statue, so there are no statues of women in Central Park on the Literary Walk. The other statues of women that might exist in Central Park are allegorical figures, so Mother Goose, Alice in Wonderland, etc. They wanted real women represented in Central Park along the Literary Walk. There is a space for this already cited. This statue consists of 3 figures, not just suffragettes, but also considered women rights pioneers, and those are Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Sojourner Truth. This is currently pending approval by PDC, and right now, we, as the committee, you can see some image in front of you. I'm so sorry they did not send the image in time tonight to get uploaded, but this statue is a bronze statue on top of a granite base, and as a committee, we voted. I believe this is actually incorrect on the resolutions sheet. We had 6 approvals, 1 abstention, and as of September 16th, we approved this in the form, appearance, and the materials presented, knowing very well that this will come back to us after the PDC reviews. So can I call this to question? Does anyone have any questions? Ken, do you have a question?
Yeah, at the end it says that we encourage additional statues contributions of women. I think we made it pretty clear at committee that we're not in favor of any more statues in Central Park.
I did not have that in my notes.
I think that's right too. I think we dropped it. Did we
drop it at the end? Because I have that in my notes that we.
And affirmatively shows not to encourage any more statues of any kind in Central Park. So
I'm happy to remove that because it was a it was wrongly included. I apologize. I have that in my notes. So that's a friendly amendment. Yeah. Can we call this to question? Did you have any other?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23,
I could have not maybe announced that
25,
myself.
26, 27, 28, 29,
What are we not announcing?
30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Those opposed?
What's that?
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining?
On the 30th, we're having a joint meeting
You're sweet. Very
the mic going on.
Motion to adjourn.
Without objection.